I want to get right to our conversation today with John Buffone from the U.S. Census Bureau, who joins us on the line. John with the Philadelphia office. John, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. I appreciate you having me on. Even though I'm representing the Philadelphia office, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm actually originally from your neck of the woods. I'm originally from Rural Valley, Pennsylvania. Grew up in Armstrong County, went to West Shamokin High School, so I know the area pretty well.
Yeah, well, and I'm a pastor at a church over there, and I know the Buffone family very well, so it's good to have you with us. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And John, of course, we get the numbers all the time. Every week we get the numbers on the latest census report statistics and what the response rates are. We talk with our local folks here, but it's good to have a conversation with you because you give us a different perspective, the statewide perspective of the importance of the U.S. Census. And there are a number of different aspects to that, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. Right now, we are full steam ahead with our non-response follow-up operation. Right now, we have enumerators or census takers, as a lot of people refer to them as, knocking on doors on households that have not yet responded to the 2020 census, and they are obviously following all local, state, and federal health guidelines, wearing masks, following social distancing guidelines, and in most cases, census workers they can make up to 6 attempts at each address to count possible residents. So we are working hard. Indiana County doing pretty well, 64.2% response rate, and you want to be able to compare that to the 2010 response rate, which was 65.4. So they're pretty much in the same ballpark they were in the last decennial census. And if I had to give an evaluation, I'd say they're basically running with the pack when it comes to surrounding counties. Armstrong 65.4, Jefferson 59.9, Cambria 68.1. So like I said, Indiana is 64.2, running pretty even with the pack. They're about 3 points under the state average, which right now is at 64.4, but that's nothing too terrifying at this point, the 3 points down. And actually, Indiana County running pretty parallel with the national response rate right now, which is 64.6%. So they're running even with them right now. So working real hard, keeping everything on track. Indiana County on the same projection as they were in the last census.
Yeah, that being the case, though, you know how competitive we are around here, John. Is there a chance for us to get out ahead of the pack? Is there still time?
Oh, my goodness, yes. The best response right now is still self-response. You can go online. You can respond by phone. You can, if you still have the mailer that we sent you, you can mail that back in through the mail. So this is of the utmost importance. We get one crack at this every 10 years, and quite frankly, it's impossible to live your life and not be affected by the decennial census. If you utilize schools, highways, bridges, hospitals, you have been impacted by census data. It helps fund programs like SNAP and Head Start and school lunches and Medicare. So in all aspects of life, the census plays a role. Not to mention, census data is used for congressional representation in Congress. So once the data comes in, if you're undercounted, you could lose a representative in the House of Representatives. If your population grows, you may grow representation. So it takes most people about 10 minutes to fill out the census, and so 10 minutes for the next 10 years. And we're talking about $675 billion in federal funding every year for the next 10 years, and your congressional representation in Congress. So funding and representation, very, very important stuff that does not take a lot of time to stand up and be counted. And on another avenue of that, businesses use census data all the time. Whenever they're deciding whether or not they want to open up a new branch of a business or open up a new business in general, a lot of them look at census data. And if they're deciding between your area and maybe somewhere else, and they have just a higher population according to the census data, they may be more inclined to open a business somewhere else. And that can impact the local economy. That can impact how many people come into your town. So in all aspects of life, the decennial census plays a role.
One of the interesting things to me about this census this year, John, is that it's taken every 10 years, and every 10 years, especially the last 20 years, technology changes so much and makes taking this census in 2020 easier than it ever has been. And it takes literally it takes under 10 minutes to do this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And this is the first decennial census where you can respond online. And we've seen our expectations have basically been exceeded by that. Given the pandemic and COVID-19, a lot of people were spending more time at home. And I'm never going to say that there was a bright spot to a pandemic, because there isn't. But just the sheer fact that a lot of people were at home working online, around their computer more, around their phones more, that gave them a chance to go to 2020census.gov and respond to the census. So this being the first time that it could be online, it really helped us, because a lot of people were not out and about, but they were able to just stay at home and respond like you said, in a matter of minutes, and it's done.
Yeah, John Buffone with us from the U.S. Census Bureau. He's based in Philadelphia, but he's a local boy, so we like him. John, when we think about the census and the reasons people cite for not wanting to respond to the census, they're pretty easy to strike down. What are some of the reasons, and then give why those reasons are not valid for striking down this, or for taking the census?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of reasons that somebody may not want to, but it's important to ensure people that none of your personal identifiable information can be shared with another agency. It can't be shared with law enforcement. It can't be shared with ICE. We are not going to ask for any kind of financial information. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it leads to a good point about identifying census workers. Sometimes people mistrust people that knock on their doors, but it's important to know how to identify a U.S. Census worker, and one of those would be, they're gonna knock on your door. They're gonna be wearing PPE. They're gonna have a mask, and they're also going to have a U.S. Census badge to identify themselves. They will have a 2020 Census bag, which the logo is very, very apparent. They're also going to have a technological device, whether it be an iPhone or iPad, with a big Census logo on it, so they will identify themselves. But it's also very important to know what a census taker will not ask you. So other than the basic questions on the census about your age, your sex, your race, and some basic information like that, no one who says they're from the census is going to ask you for your Social Security number. They are not going to ask you what your credit card number is. They are not going to ask you for a donation. They are not going to ask you for a payment of any sort, and they are not going to ask you to come into your house either. So we make sure that none of your information is shared with anyone. This is 100% mandated by the Constitution that your information is safe. So any qualms or any kind of fears that people may have, just know that this is ironclad, 100% safe to participate in.
Years ago, when I was growing up, there was a gentleman that went out to Philadelphia and came back and said he was surprised how many people from Pennsylvania were there, because Philadelphia seems like a whole different country, a whole different state than Pennsylvania is. But it is one big state. Philadelphia is obviously the biggest city in Pennsylvania, and controls a lot, really, in terms of the way that responses are given from federal government when it comes to the dispensation of funds into the state. But there's a tendency to think that Philadelphia controls the state. Our area here in western Pennsylvania isn't as populous, but it's just as important, isn't it, for people to respond here? So we get a total count for Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's of the utmost importance. We are all in this together when it comes to wanting to stand up and be counted, because, like you said, we're Pennsylvanians, and also you want to represent your local community of how funds are going to be dispersed, and that comes down to a lot of programs where they want to put new buildings, where they think they need to put new buildings. That comes down to demographics that are brought up that are reported through those numbers. So it's not just, oh, well, the cities will take care of that. There are so many rural programs that are affected by census data as well, as far as even some conservation efforts, even wildlife efforts, federally funded wildlife efforts. And I know, trust me, I know how important that is in western Pennsylvania, in northern Pennsylvania, up Elk County, Armstrong County, Indiana County, all of the conservationists and all of the people that enjoy wildlife and hunting, fishing, things like that. This impacts the rural areas just as much as it does the city areas. So this is not a time to just be complacent and say, well, if I get to it, I get to it. No, I mean, I can't stress enough. 5-10 minutes and you're done, and you are securing your fair share of the federal funds whenever the census data is finally reported.
John, give me a timeline. How much time do we have to get this all taken care of?
As of right now, we have until the end. We have until the end of September. So September 30th is when we're going to be wrapping things up. That's when the enumerators are going to wrap up their non-response follow-up and knocking on doors. Also, that's how long you have to self-respond. So even if you're not sure, like did I respond to the census? Did I mail that? I remember that somewhere. Go online. We have things on the back end that can pick up duplicates. So if you think you did, but you're not really sure, and you don't really remember, well, did my wife fill that out? Did my kids fill that out? Or did I send that out? Make sure you go on to 2020census.gov and fill out the census, because we can always handle duplicates. We can't figure out the undercount and fill that out for somebody. So even if you're not sure, you gotta go out and respond to it, because we're running down to about a month. I guess today's August 28th, so we're looking at about a month left before we got to start wrapping up and getting that information ready to turn into the president by the end of the year.
He's a Philly boy now, but the Tri-Cities of Yatesboro, Rural Valley, and New Mines say hello to John Buffone. Thanks for spending some time with us today, John.
Thank you so much for having me on. Hope to do it again.
All right, there he is, John Buffone. Thanks a lot. See you. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160 and AM 1160 and